What's going on Tuesday, July the 28th, 2026? Ken Arzone talking baseball, reviewing and promoting my book, Yearly Leaders of Every Pitching Category, Chapter 4, Shutouts. Which pitchers in baseball history led the league in shutouts year by year, decade by decade? I did an extensive research on the subject, shutouts. Started in the 1870s. I looked at every year the top 5 pitchers in shutouts. This video, 1871 through 1879. Now, in the 1870s, they didn't play as many games, 60, 70, maybe 80 games they got up to. But pitchers were going 9 innings, 10 innings, and they were pitching complete games. So even though the numbers are low, the reason is not enough games. But as teams start playing 100 games, 120 games, 150, 160, and then you get pitchers pitching every third, fourth, fifth day. In the 1870s, 1880s, and 1890s, some pitchers pitched every day or every other day. So shutouts is an interesting stat. In order to do it, you got to go 9 innings, right? Or 10 innings. 1871, there were 4 pitchers had 1 shutout. They only played 60 games, but there was a lot of hitting going on in the 1870s, so it's very rare to shut out a team. Al Spalding, Bobby Matthews, Riney Walters, and Cherokee Fisher all had 1 shutout, 1871. 1872, you get some pitchers who get more than 1. Candy Cummings and Al Spalding had 3 shutouts. George Sutland, Cherokee Fisher, and Dick McBride had 1. 1873, Dick McBride got 3 shutouts. Bobby Matthews, 2. Candy Cummins, Al Spalding, Jim Britt, 1. 1874, Bobby Matthews, 4 shutouts. So did Al Spalding. Candy Cummins, George Sutland, 3. Tommy Bond, 1. So some of these guys are pitching 40, 50 games a season. Bobby Matthews and Al Spalding, 4 shutouts. But how about this? 1875, Candy Cummins, 7 shutouts, and Al Spalding and George Sutland also had 7. So what's going on? Before, it was hard to get a shutout. You had guys 1 or 2 maybe at the most. But how about 1875? You got 3 guys that have 7 shutouts. What does that mean? They did not come out of the game. And if you can shut out the other team for 9 innings, it's a good stat. Tommy Bond, 6. Dick McBride, 6. But something very strange happened in the 1876 season. I'm looking it up right now. Have you heard of a guy named George Bradley? 1876 season. So what am I doing? I'm going to pull him up. Career shutout leaders. Okay, you go to Baseball Reference. The yearly top 10. 1876. George Bradley had 16 shutouts. 16. So I'm looking up his stat line here. How did he do that? 1876. Well, he got into 64 games. His record was 45-19. Pretty good record, right? But 64 games he pitched in. He started all 64. It wasn't a relief. So he was a starting pitcher. 64 games started. He completed 63 of them. He had a 1.23 ERA. And he got 16 shutouts. How about that? That's an anomaly. That's a rarity. Al Spalding had 8, Tommy Bond 6, Candy Cummins 5, and Jim Devlin 5. That was 1876. Is that a record? 16 shutouts? Well, I'm looking it up. Did anybody else get 16 shutouts? Well, have you heard of Pete Alexander? One year in 1916, he had 16 shutouts, and that's the record. So George Bradley and Pete Alexander hold the record for one season as far as most shutouts. 16. Did you know that stat? I didn't know that. All right, so 1877, Tommy Bond 6, Terry Larkin 4, Jim Devlin 4, George Bradley only had 2, and Will Wright 1. 1878, Tommy Bond 9, John Ward 6, Will Wright 5, Terry Larkin and Jim McCormick 1. 1879, Tommy Bond 11 shutouts, Bud Calvin 6, Harry McCormick 5, Terry Larkin 4, Will Wright 4. So the 1870s, 60, 70 games, maybe the teams are playing. So who stood out in the 1870s as far as shutouts? Al Spalding, 6 times, top 5. Candy Cummins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times Candy Cummins, top 5. Bobby Matthews, a couple. George Setlin, a couple. Tommy Bond, a couple. But again, the numbers are not that high. 2, 3, 4. Some guys get into double digits. In fact, there are only 2 guys in the 1870s had double-digit strikeouts or shutouts in a season. George Bradley had the 16 in 1876, and then you had Tommy Bond had 11, 1879. So those are the totals for the 1870s. Let's see if there's any progression in the 1880s as far as shutouts. Because why? Because now there'll be more games played. Pitchers they're still pitching some every 2 days, 3 days. They're going to get more starts, 40, 50, 60 starts. Can we get some guys in the double-digit shutouts for a season? I'll look at the 1880s in the next video. I'm out.